Hello everyone, Happy New Year and welcome back to our first webinar of 2023. I hope everyone is able to see and hear us clearly and that the slides are clearly portrayed. My name is Jan-Willem Middelburg and I will be your host for today's webinar series. And today it's my great pleasure to co-host this session in collaboration with Accenture. We have an amazing speaker today who is going to talk us through the enterprise big data processes and explain their importance. Before we get started, a couple of things around the logistics of this webinar. First of all, note that this webinar is being recorded and that our privacy policy about recordings can be found back on our website. Second of all, we strongly encourage you to ask questions. That's the whole benefit of doing a webinar like this live. On the left-hand side of your screen, you will be able to see a Q&A box in which you can ask questions towards Richard based on the presentation. Towards the end of the session, we will take some time to moderate all the questions. Please note that all listeners are in listen-only mode and that you cannot speak or we cannot hear you during the webinar. If you have an urgent question or you would like to be unmuted, please reach out to us through the Q&A button and we can turn on your volume manually. It's my great pleasure to welcome Richard to the webinar. Welcome, Richard. It's a real pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Jan-Willem. It's a pleasure to be here. And like you said, I would like to talk about the importance of data processes, big data processes in the enterprise. First of all, a small introduction of what we do at Accenture. We specialize in providing end-to-end solutions and skilled resources to help our clients run value-creating projects. And also, we bring talent specialized in business process skills and drive to bring operational excellence through analysis, transformation, and execution. In that way, we run the business and we change the business processes. And personally, I have a lot of assignments in optimizing business processes, and the specialization we pursue is optimizing business processes using enterprise big data. And first of all, I want to ask the question: why do we need processes? Given that all activities within a corporate environment are about capturing value. And to greatly enhance the chance of capturing value, we need to demonstrate control, compliance, and quality by implementing processes. That's no difference for analyzing big data, but also for the operational business processes. Processes bring us structure, measurable steps, and can be managed on a day-to-day basis. And if we take a look at the key characteristics of effective governance, these processes are defined in a clearly manner, are aligned, consistent, and actively managed. We are embedding these processes as a practice within the organization. And why? We want to be able to produce actionable big data products to contribute to organizational objectives, which means we must be able to measure the strategic contribution of our projects to the organization. And we make this measurable by demonstrating control, compliance, and quality. Well, I won't go into detail of each step of the processes we need, neither which techniques to apply and how to apply them, but try to answer the questions how to demonstrate control, compliance, and quality. And therefore we have 3 processes which help us to bring structure and give us better control of outcomes in our projects. And these processes are our data analytic processes, our data governance process, and our data management process. The data analytics process contains sequential steps in order to process big data. These steps ensure consistency between projects and improve performance and efficiency. These sequential steps are to be performed in this in this order, with a clearly defined start and a clearly defined end result. The end result should be the outcome. Managing these steps, ideally in every big data project, we can control the outcomes of our big data projects. Today, I want to focus mainly on the why of these processes. It's easy to get lost in all sorts of big data models and data processing activities without proper focus or guidance. And this introduces the risk of not delivering value to the business and therefore lose interest of management. To ensure we deliver value successfully, we need consistency between our big data initiatives. And when we manage the different stages in our analysis process, we have better control of the outcomes and the results of our projects. And therefore, management will be pleased with our outcomes, and we have a podium, a platform to continue running our projects. And our strategy gives us prioritized use cases for which we can start a project. And therefore, each project must start with step 1, determining the business objective. And this gives us guidance for our project. To make sure we have the right focus on a project, we need to determine the business objective. Our use case specifies what the objective is, meaning why we are executing this project. And the purpose of this step is to set boundaries to retain focus during our project. And we need to identify which type of business objective we are looking into. And we can differentiate between 6 types of objectives. And each type, and I won't go into detail of each type, has its own type of questions we need to answer and has its own analysis techniques. It is vital to have a well-defined scope of our business problem, and we can focus on the correct techniques, but also set the expectations towards our stakeholders. Determining our objective type and goal, we can start to think of which data we need, which questions we need to ask and need to be answered, and how we want to present our results. Each objective can have problems, which are our key questions related to datasets originating inside or outside the company. And the next step in the process are to identify which data we need to perform our analysis, our data identification, where to source the data and make sure the data is valid, our data collection and sourcing steps and data review, and are consistent and ready to be used for data processing. In the final step of the slide, the data cleansing. These steps can be time-consuming and difficult because it makes it necessary to think about our data requirements. Think of getting the appropriate access rights, identifying security, privacy, and regulatory requirements regarding handling the data, but also set the properties of the data sets. Properties like volume, variety, and velocity of these sets. But also questions like, do we need to report daily or once a year? This variation can have major implications on collecting and sourcing our data. Review and cleansing of our data ensures us our data is consistent with our expectations and are ready for processing. And after we have cleansed our data, we can start building our statistical model to use. It is an iterative process which defines and improves our model to apply to the dataset. The model and algorithms applied to the dataset must give answer to the questions in our business objective. This can be as simple as finding an average in a dataset to combining multiple complex algorithms to predict future economic scenarios, for example. And these steps are the analysis tasks. So all the steps before these two are in preparation of our analysis. And finally, when we arrive at step 7, the data processing, we are actually analyzing the data. The success of our project relies on delivering results. And our results depend greatly on clear and concise communication of the results. We can only deliver value to business objective if our analysis is understood and the outcomes can be used to make business valuable decisions based on our reports. Therefore, we also need to think of consistent, structured, and easy easy-to-use way of reporting. Summarizing data into graphs and figures using appropriate visualization techniques can be powerful. It can enable insights across the enterprise. This is also a step we need to keep in mind before we start our project. How do we want to communicate our results, and in what fashion and in what frequency? Well, sounds all good, but how should we start? And I always say, start small and improve. Start with an achievable use case, achievable as in projects which don't require large investments up front or a lot of time to analyze. Make every step in the process measurable and reflect regularly on effectiveness of each step, and improve the process while scaling up. We need to establish these processes from the start so we can ensure that we are performing our projects on a daily basis in a consistent manner. By starting small, we also enable ourselves to learn and to reflect on how we perform our projects and improve our projects. This might sound like setting up a process is a time-consuming task, but it provides benefits in the long run. That was our data analysis process. Next is our data governance process, which is ideally a bit bigger than only applicable for our big data projects. Data is a strategic asset for our organization. It makes it necessary we have proper measures of control. We need to make sure that our important data assets are properly managed, and these assets can be trusted to be used in decision-making processes. And therefore, we need a data governance process. First of all, we need to develop a data quality strategy. We need to align data quality objectives with business strategy, determine the objectives for the data management process. This strategy is needed to manage and direct the data quality activities. At least yearly, this strategy must be reviewed and updated. And this strategy is ideally bigger than only our big data projects. We need to align it with business strategy and look on a broader business perspective of data management. The next step is that we need to review regulatory and privacy requirements to ensure compliance. Most countries have strict laws concerning data privacy and data transfer across borders. Regulatory requirements and fines can be steep. Think of percentages of yearly revenue as a penalty. It makes it a strong imperative to ensure compliancy for most enterprises. Periodic review of these regulatory privacy requirements must be an integral part of the data governance process. And ideally, we would review our requirements on a monthly basis to ensure we are compliant. And the next step is to develop data governance policies and assign roles and responsibilities to ensure accountability, authority, and supervision. Our data quality strategy and regulatory requirements need to be translated into data governance policies. These policies must be available to everyone in the organization, as they explain the requirements for everyone and are a valuable input for sourcing decisions of our data, contract with suppliers, and guide the organization of data quality. Policies must also define clear roles and responsibilities across the enterprise. Senior management must be involved and encourage the enterprise to desirable behavior in the use of data. Without the involvement of senior management, we cannot expect that our policies are not embedded in the organization. The next up is how to demonstrate quality. Therefore, we need the operational, on a daily basis, operational data management process. And it's the primary objective of this data management process is to ensure data quality. It safeguards the quality on a day-to-day basis by executing strategic objectives of the data governance process. Big data analysis is highly dependent on the quality of input data. Therefore, proper data management enables us to define and continually verify, update, and clean the enterprise data. And additionally, it enables enterprises to identify problems and analyze root causes of data failures, for example. So by having a proper data management process, not only are big data projects benefit by it, but also daily business processes benefit by having the correct data. And when do we know we have the correct data? Therefore, we need to specify metrics and performance indicators. We need to clearly define metrics and indicators which enable continuously monitoring and managing the data quality. These metrics should be linked to the company's goals and objectives determined in data governance policies. They should also enable the organization to check and steer day-to-day data operations. As in all processes, the general rule of thumb, garbage in is garbage out, also applies to even the most complex big data solutions. And then we can use automated tools to monitor and index datasets in the enterprise. Therefore, we can manage the enterprise data. These tools measure the quality of the data against the specified metrics and performance indicators. A balanced data quality scorecard, for example, can give insight into the actual state of the indicators, enable the organization to act on underperformance or non-compliance. And also automated alerts on changed or corrupted data can trigger timely intervention or correction of data. Also keep in mind the security triad of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These enable us to ensure data is accurate, correct, and available to authorized users, systems, and or resources. Therefore, we need a process of data improvement and validation. We need to think on forehand on what validation rules must be applied to our data set, and then check regularly the quality of the data and have a process of improving the data quality based on these validation rules. To ensure we have a properly applied our process, we need to communicate and educate on data management across the enterprise. We need to engage stakeholders to actively participate in data management activities. We need to ensure policies are known, followed, and correctly implemented in processes, procedures, and systems. And training programs can help us reduce user errors, increase productivity and compliance, and as a result, speed up our big data analysis processes. And there's a big synergy between compliance and quality. We have a close relationship between governance, data governance, and data management processes. Governance sets the policies and responsibilities on a strategic level, and management executes and monitors on an operational level. And in that way, we have three processes to bring us structure and control of our outcomes in our projects. They enable us to deliver value, to learn, and to improve our processes. And that was what I wanted to share with you on these processes. I hope you have gained some insights into the importance of processes and how they help us control and deliver better outcomes in our projects.
Good, very well, Richard. That was an excellent overview, I think, of some of the main processes that are needed in any big data organization. I see a lot of people clapping already in the systems. I think you did a very excellent explanation on some of the main reasons why these processes are necessary. While we are going into the Q&A, I want to remind people that they can still ask questions by using the Q&A functionality, which you see on the left-hand side of the screen today. And in the meantime, if it's okay with you, I will already moderate a couple of questions that came in. And the first person that is asking a question is Laila from the UAE. And Laila is asking, in my organization, there's a lot of confusion between data governance and data management. How do I explain the difference?
I can get there is a lot of overlap between those two processes. First of all, data management process is a process applied on a day-to-day basis. But before we can start the data management process, we need to set boundaries, and that is what the data governance process gives us. It gives us a strategy, it gives us requirements to which our data should adhere, and gives us an organization to apply those requirements. The data governance process also gives us insight or specifies who's responsible for certain activities. And the data management process is actually executing those activities. That's the main difference between a data governance process and a data management process.
If I can do a quick follow-up question on that, from your experience with Accenture, I know you design a lot of these processes for clients all over the world. Which out of these two do you think organizations have most mature at this stage? Is it more on the governance side, or is it more on the management side?
In my experience, some organizations rely heavily on the governance process, and sometimes neglect to properly perform a data management process. Ideally, you start small. Look at the regulatory and privacy requirements, for example. Write your own policies based on the regulatory and privacy requirements, and pick one process or one system to check if data adheres to those policies. And learn from applying those policies to that process or to that system. And that also gives a lot of insights in how the organization operates, how the interactions between management and operations is, for example. And it is imperative that management, senior management, is a big sponsor of our policies. They not only are responsible for our policies, but they also need to drive the organization to apply those policies.
Very interesting. Let me go towards the next question. The next question is from Jorik out of South Africa. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. And the question is, you showed metrics for data quality, like accuracy, timeliness. Are you familiar with what would be a good value or benchmark of values, what we should try to aim for with our organization? That's an interesting one.
It surely depends on what type of organization you have, what type of products you deliver, what types of service you deliver. But certainly there are some data elements which can be very strictly defined. For example, a very common data element is a phone number of our customers or email addresses of our customers. We can clearly define rules to recognize a valid phone number or a valid email address. And like benchmarking, ideally, our customer relation management process has the validation rules implemented, which makes it impossible to enter invalid email addresses or invalid phone numbers. That's ideally. There are also a lot of data elements which aren't, we cannot in the same manner define in a clearly manner. It can be data elements which are a result of complex calculations or complex free text search fields, for example. And that's also what I try to give back to my clients in all projects. They always try to add a field, a free text field, for example. And in strict processes, I always try to encourage them to specify or to refrain from using free text fields. Try to specify which data you need. And that's a big part of our data management process, checking if, validating if data entered in the systems adheres to our requirements. And that's, and it helps us in the big data processes to speed those analysis processes up, but it also delivers quality in our day-to-day processes.
I think it's a very valid question, and I get this question also a lot when people ask me, should I aim for, let's say, 90% accuracy or 95 or 99? What's a good value to have? And I think that when you start measuring in the first place, then it doesn't matter so much what the value is, as long as you see progress going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Good. I think we have time for one more question. I see another one coming in right now, and that one is from Patrick Doherty. Are there any frameworks, packages, software, or system for transforms that do not need a lot of text matching and regex, regular expressions to be manually created? What's your view on that? Are you familiar with any specific tools or frameworks that can help with that?
Yeah. There are some frameworks and software available. Don't ask me the names of the frameworks and software, but I've seen frameworks which also rely on, for example, machine learning to perform the text matching and regular expressions. So you don't have to manually create them. There are also frameworks used in process mining, which also can extract the data elements and extract the requirements of the data elements based on a day-to-day operation. So there are frameworks.
Very good. Thanks. And let me have a quick look at my list. Yeah, I think that these are the questions that have come in. So I think we're done with answering all the attendee questions. And that brings us towards the end of our session today. So before I leave, I would like to sincerely thank Richard for his time. In terms of making the preparations to be with here today. You're delivering the first webinar of this new year. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for taking the time and the preparations to share a little bit of your wisdom with the audience today. I see a lot of people are reacting to your webinar, so it's very good, and I think they learned quite a lot. On that note, I would like to point everyone towards the Big Data Framework website, where we will have a new schedule for this year with all upcoming and free webinars. So by all means, if you want to learn more around big data, machine learning, and AI, just sign up for the upcoming sessions. They're all free, in which we will have other industry experts, just like Richard, sharing their knowledge and their experience. Thank you so much to both again, Richard and Accenture, and we're going to close the session right now. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.